Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com.au. Today, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Fabienne Fredrickson, who is going to be discussing the 8 steps to scale your business, especially if you're struggling to balance business success with family life. Fabienne's going to share how we can enjoy 14 weeks of vacation per year. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Now, Fabienne has over 20 years experience, and she is she's powerfully mentored thousands of business women to grow, then scale their businesses, earning them tens of millions collectively each year, while increasing their time off to enjoy the lives that they love. Her leveraged business methodology is based on her nearly 15 years of experience in generating multiple 7 figures annually with 3 children at home, while taking 14 weeks of unplugged vacations each year. It is proven to work. Interview topics, Fabienne's revolutionary book, The Leveraged Business, how you can go from overwhelmed at 6 figures to 7 figures and get your life back. Here's the new definitive roadmap on how she's done it with heart and how you can too, without sacrificing your life. Fabienne, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for joining here on Talking with the Experts.
Thank you for having me, Rose.
So tell me a little bit about your background, Fabienne.
Well, I left the corporate job market nearly 25 years ago to do 2 things. One, to control my own life and have some freedom, and to also make a difference in people's lives. I found that by selling advertising space, I wasn't really creating a life that had meaning for me. And while I opened my first business as a holistic nutrition business, I used what I could in the marketing and sales knowledge that I had, but I could not fill my practice. And it was a question of figure out what to do to make this business work, or go back and live a soul-sucking existence working for somebody else. And I discovered that I had become unemployable. So I had to create a client attraction system for myself. And I'm going to take a year or 2 and condense it into 1 or 2 sentences. But basically, I decided that I had no choice, and therefore I had to come up with a plan that would provide new clients, high-paying clients consistently, without having to do any bro marketing, bro selling, anything that felt overly masculine and not authentic to who I am as a woman with a big heart and a big spirituality. And I created a client attraction system for myself based on what I tried that worked and leaving out what didn't work. And I filled my practice to full capacity in 8 months. And other people started asking, okay, how did you do that? And I'd say, why don't you come over for tea, or let's meet in the park and I'll give you 2 or 3 things to do, and it would work for them. And I stopped doing nutrition a year and a half later because people were asking me, even my current nutrition clients were asking me, so how are you doing this? I need to do this for my physical therapy practice, for my, whatever it is that they were doing. And I transitioned from being a nutritionist to being a business coach. And in the beginning, it was me on the phone with private clients, and you get 30 minutes a week and you get 30 minutes a week. And after a while, I noticed that I was at full capacity. And no matter what I did, even if I would raise my rates, I'd still be at full capacity, which is obviously a great problem to have. But I had friends who were starting to make 20K a month, 50K a month, And they were taking these vacations. And I'm thinking, why am I working on evenings and weekends? At this point, I had a little baby at home with my husband. And one day as I always did, I was like, honey, I got a new client today. And instead of being met with, congratulations, that's awesome, let's celebrate, he had more of a somber mood. And he said, are you sure you can handle any more clients? We're starting not to see you. Because in the evenings, I would have dinner with him, and then we would put the baby to bed, and then I'd go back to my computer for hours. I never went a weekend without working. And if we did go on vacation, I was always bringing my laptop and sneaking some time away from the pool or the beach. And then I had another child and it kept growing. And I started thinking, okay, I know I am meant for more. And perhaps some people who are listening to this right now are thinking, yeah, there's this knowing that I'm meant for more. Why can't I make it work? Do I have to be overwhelmed? Do I have to be just burnt out to be making more money? And I started getting mentored, but then I started to research the concept of leverage. And when you look at the concept of leverage in the world, they're usually talking about financial leverage, leveraging other people's money for investments and things like that. But I started looking at it as leverage, leveraging every aspect of my business. Could I leverage my very small part-time virtual team to do more for me, so that I could do less? Could I leverage systems and processes so that not everything needed to be generated by me? Could I leverage a different business model, working one to many as opposed to one to one, and having all of my income be directly correlated to my time? Could I actually leverage my time, and instead of doing all this busy work, could I look at how to use my time using the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? And I started looking at everything like this, Rose, from this leverage perspective. What are the 20% of marketing activities that produce the 80% of results? What are the 8 hours of a 10-hour day that don't move the needle forward? And what if I stopped using my day that way and I started focusing on only the things that brought in money? Why am I doing so much myself based on, you know, that sense of like hyper independence and control. I don't want to say control freak, because I
Oh
don't think
yeah,
that's
you
very
can say
kind.
control freak because I'm a control freak. I mean, I
Well,
am.
how about we call ourselves control enthusiasts instead of control
Okay.
freak, right? And just to take the whole thing and just accordionize it down over a period of a couple of years, I created a process for myself. Again, everything I teach is stuff I've done for myself. And when it worked, I turned it around and showed other people how to do it. But in short, I created a leveraged business methodology that had me go from, struggling at high five figures to burnt out at six figures, and then turned it around to go to multiple six figures and eventually 1 million a year and more. I've multiplied that since, with all this time off. This isn't thinner thighs in 30 days. This isn't a promise of uh, making 1 million in a weekend. This is not hype. It takes a couple of years to put in place. I always want to be super transparent about this, but this is the process that I have been teaching now for close to 20 years to tens of thousands of women with big hearts, women with healthy ambition, but who also have families, who also usually are spiritually open, or who want to use their life for good. This isn't for the money hungry, growth at all costs kind of person. That's not who I am. And I ended up putting the 8 steps into my book. And my book is called The Leveraged Business. And it lays out, chapter to chapter, how to leverage your team, how to leverage your systems, how to leverage your time, your business model, and four other leverage, what I call activators, that are pretty common sense. But you and I were never taught this when we opened our business. We were taught to give hours for dollars. And this is an innovative, and I'm very humbled by, I think it was like given to me, to then share with lots of other women. I'm astounded by how well it works for the woman who's willing to do the work. And so I've laid out all the steps in the book. And if anybody wants it, they can go to boldheart.com, and up at the top, it'll say like the book or something like that, or free book. And I'm happy to ship it to you if, print it and ship it if you help me with the shipping cost. And what this does is it helps you scale your business while getting your time back. Again, there are things that you need to put in place. This is not a magic pill, right? But when you learn how to hire people you trust, world-class people who, by the way, are not more expensive than the people that are kind of mediocre. Like the mediocre people are lovely people, but they cost the same as people
Mm,
who will do what they say, who will show up on time, who will be invested. It's a whole process on how to delegate effectively and get the work back the way you want it.
mhm,
It's a way to document everything that gets done more than once in your business so that somebody else on your team can do it for you, which then removes you from the day-to-day operations of your business. Not right away. It takes about 3 to 6 months to ramp up, and then create more processes so that you can take your process that you do with your clients, your intellectual property, and you create passive income from it. Passive is kind of a loose term. You still have to show up, but you don't have to do the heavy lifting. And I have more to tell, more to share. I'm so passionate about this because I want women to make their own money and lots of it. But I'll
mm.
stop here in case you have a question. I want to
Yeah,
let you get a word in.
we all know that women are, very can be very possessive about the tasks that they do especially when
Yeah,
they're starting out.
yeah,
And often at times they don't have the money to, to outsource, which is fine. And usually a business takes about 2 years to really get off the ground in the first
yeah,
place.
for sure.
Anyone who says they're an overnight success is not being truthful, because
I agree with you
it,
100%.
it's like, overnight success podcasts and video streamers. Unless you've got an audience already, you're not going to get 1 million views all overnight. So it does take time. So anyone who thinks they're going to be an overnight success, it's not going to happen. And sometimes when we get brave enough to outsource these things, and you're right, you need to write the processes down that you're doing day to day, so that you can give it to somebody and they can do as good a job or better than you can do it. And that's the whole point of outsourcing, is finding that person or people that can do it better than you, because we all have limitations to our skills. I mean, not everyone is good at everything.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned a long time ago, Rose, is that we are wired, us entrepreneurs, the majority of us, and I say majority by 95%, are wired to start new things.
Mm.
We're high idea generators, right? We're high idea generators. We have no shortage of ideas. But if we're being honest, uh, we're not wired to finish what we start. How do I know this? Well, one, I'm like this, and Sounds like you might be like this too. And our school system does not celebrate that, whether it's in Australia or in Europe or in the US, it's etc. We are made to feel bad for being wired the way we are. And the reason I know that 95% of us entrepreneurs are wired this way is that in my leverage program, I ask my ladies to every single one of them to take 2 assessments. And in these assessments, 95% of us are wired to be excited for new things, to, and I actually, I'll share a word with you. The word entrepreneur, the comes from the word entreprendre in French. Entreprendre means to initiate, to begin. And so we entrepreneurs like to begin things, but we're not wired to finish them. And so we have a lot of things on our plate and a lot of things are started. And there was, the bright, shiny object syndrome and oh yes, I want to try this and I want to get another certification in this and all of that. What I've learned, Rose, is that we want to surround ourselves with finishers.
Mm.
There are people in our society who are naturally interested and brilliant at 2 things. One, making order out of chaos, which is not us. And that's okay. We're brilliant in other ways, right? So order out of chaos and systems and processes and checklists and procedures and accountability and all of that. And they are good at taking a project that is started and moving it to completion. And they're wired differently than us. And when you know where to find those people and where to hire them, everything changes. And that's been a hack that I've been using in my own business that helped me get to 7 figures for the first time 17 years ago. And that I now teach to all of our ladies is surround yourself with people who can finish what you start and who don't make you feel bad, because the money is not in starting. The money is in finishing.
Mm.
We do not get paid from things that are in progress. We get paid from things that we fully implement. So part of the thing is to just realize that we are brilliantly wired the way we are to have these ideas and have the courage to go against the grain and start these things. But just like anything in life, yin and yang, light and dark, wet and dry, work together. Everything that works in nature is a series of opposites. And so when you can get these people in your business to finish what you start, that's how you start making more money. And at the same time, because they are responsible for the processes and the team and finishing projects, you get your time back.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, that was going with what I was saying, is finding people outside of your organization. So outsourcing things that, you're probably very good at. But you're right. Most entrepreneurs don't finish anything. It's just not the way that they work. And, I've got a lot of craft projects that I've started. And, I've got one's half finished and half 3/4 finished, and ones have just started, but I'll get back to that later. And it's frustrating because you think, I'll just go and do that, but then something else comes up and you think, no, I'm not going to go and do that now. I'm going to follow this little shiny object that I've just discovered.
Yeah. We're so good at that.
Love it. And then you go down the rabbit hole and you got to try and get your way back out of it. But I'd like to talk about some work-life freedom strategies with you.
Yes.
Fabian, do you want to explain, how you have balanced your life and your work with the freedom to be able to have this 14 weeks off?
Yeah. What I have long said is that we women are socialized, reared, bred to feel valuable when we give a lot of ourselves. So we are rewarded in society by being people pleasers and volunteering for the Parent Teacher Association and the Girl Scouts and the book club and everything, right? And what I started thinking is, why am I over giving everywhere in my life and not focusing on myself and what matters? And I know that our society makes us feel selfish
Absolutely.
when we prioritize ourselves. And I started looking at it as it's not selfish, it's self-care. Because if I'm empty, I can't give to my three kids and my husband. If I'm empty and resentful and there's no oil in the oil lamp, I can't give to my clients and my team and my community and all of that. So I started looking at how can I, one, take back my time in the areas that I've let other people hijack it. And one of the assignments that I talk about in chapter 3 of the book, Leverage Your Time, is who has hijacked your time, or who have you allowed to hijack your time based on societal expectations? And I give scripts to take your time back. And what is fascinating, Rose, is that sometimes when I work with a client, she'll gain back thousands and thousands of hours per year, like 10,000 hours per year. And you know how we women say, oh my God, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. We have the time. We freely give it away. I'm not trying to make anybody wrong. We are the product of our culture. So that's number one, is like, get clear on where your time is going. And is that a necessary? Is that a nice, or is that neither? And just learn to elegantly say no. The second thing is to allow support into your life. So I did a long time ago, I did a class called Millionaire Mompreneur, because I got to seven figures when my kids were really little. So 17 years ago, my oldest just turned 22. And I had little babies, little toddlers, and a newborn, and I needed help. So I made it okay to get help at home and at work. And in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money. So it was like I was trading time with a neighbor. If you can take the kids, during these couple of hours, I'll take yours next week. And as I made more money, like any of you listening, you start seeing, like, do I really need to be the one to return those Amazon boxes? Or can I hire somebody for 20 bucks an hour to go and do that while I work on a presentation to get new clients? Do I have to go to the supermarket during the day, or could I take my baby at 7 o'clock in the morning when they come, and go to the supermarket when they're still in their PJs? Or could I order my groceries online? Could I get somebody to do things for me? And what I learned is that when you have support at home, could I get somebody to clean my house for me? Do I have to feel guilty about that? Could I get somebody to go to the bank for me? Could I get somebody to pick up my dry cleaning and deliver it? Could I get somebody to mow the lawn so we don't have to? And then get a virtual assistant and a bookkeeper and things like that for my business. When you are supported at home and at work, it allows you to keep your work hours during the, let's say, 9 to 6 p.m. and not go over on evenings and not work on weekends. And when you have the right people in place, you prep them ahead of time. I talk about this in the book, How to Take an Unplugged Vacation. When you prep your clients ahead of time and you prep your team ahead of time, and you say, I'm going to be gone for this full week, right? And I will not be available. Then you can leave that laptop at home if you want, and everyone knows, and you can go and do that. So you start with a day or two, you start then with a week, and after a while, you can take August off. You can take December off if you want. You can choose to check in if you want, but if you have the right team in place with the right systems, you have a business model that doesn't require you to spoon feed your clients, you have these all you become a process driven company as opposed to a personality hands-on driven company. There is massive light at the end of the tunnel for your work-life balance. Again, it's not thinner thighs in 30 days. It takes time to set up these things, but once you set them up, they're set up for the rest of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote a book 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I never had it published, but it was called Surviving as a Mum in Business. And it discussed those very same principles that you've just shared with us. And I'm thinking, geez, 10 years ago, I had those thoughts.
I think you should publish your book. There, like virtually every woman in business needs to read that book, Rose.
Uh, I'll think on it. I'll think on it. I
Yeah.
think it's one of those things, it's one of those projects that I started and never finished.
Get it. It took me 8 years to read this book, to write
Right.
this book. But you know what? I'm so glad I finally finished it. I got help. I paid somebody to sit with me to finish the 20%. It seems ridiculous to pay somebody to sit next to you, but it's like you've got to be. I said to myself, I just need to do whatever it takes for me to finish what I start.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I've come to the realization that even though I'm a good starter and I can be a good finisher from time to time. So I mean, podcasting in thing, and I'll start. I do the interview. I get the guest in, and I do all the editing, and then I deliver the product at the end. So I can start and finish projects. So but I think it's something that you have to be passionate about, and something that I think that really has to take your imagination and your thoughts and so that you can complete the process. And oftentimes women in business don't have that same passion. They know that they're good at something, but they don't have that passion, I think, and drive to finish it, to get to the end and get where they're earning huge sums of money.
Yeah. I think that when we have so many things on our plate that we dislike doing or we're not good at, and we're not spending enough time on what I call our unique brilliance or the activities in our business that we're passionate about, it starts to dig into our confidence and our energy. So one of the things that I'll give you an example. I work with women in all sorts of industries, and often a designer, whether they are an interior designer or a web designer, will say to me, Fabienne, I'm at six figures, but I just I just don't think I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I just think I'm going to fold my business. And I say, but you're in the top 5% of business owners in the world. If you realize that once you cross the $100,000 mark, you're in the top 5% of entrepreneurs globally. That is insane. I said, please, please, just give me 1 year. Give me 1 year. And one of the things we do is we look at all of the things they're involved in their business. And I have them rank. Okay, let's just take inventory for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. What is everything that you did in your business? And for example, a woman will be on a sales call, but she'll also be dealing with scheduling and dealing with, unending emails and hiring and firing and working with clients. And for example, this designer can be like mapping out somebody's interior design, but also constantly on the phone trying to get the construction guy to show up on time and get the client to pay on time and all of that. When I have her make that list, she will put, oh, it's a 10 for when I'm designing this and I'm picking out the fabrics and all of that. But what do you think is the number for trying to get paid from the client or trying to get the construction crew to come? What do you think
I
that number is?
reckon it's the
Yeah,
bottom.
it's at the bottom. And so what I say to her is, let's put a pause button on all of the things that are a 7 or below. And what I mean by that is you delegate it, you eliminate it, or you automate it. And then when you're no longer doing the things that you hate, you're not good at, or you don't have the time for, and you're only doing the 8, 9, or 10 in the level of passion, you will scale your business dramatically. Why? 1, because you're going to be focused on the things that make you money. 2, they will give you energy because you're passionate about them. You're going to want to do them. Right now, you're not going to want to call the contractor for 4 hours, but you will want to work on the paint swatches or whatever for 4 hours. And that is what, and if you believe in energy like I do, I'm a spiritual person and I believe in the vibration. When you are in a place of gratitude and happiness, money gets attracted to you. That's how you do it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You've got to have that high vibration. And when you're happy with something and you're doing the things that you love, money will come.
Absolutely.
It's a proven fact. Anyone who says otherwise is
lying to themselves.
Not thinking correctly.
Yes, I like your version better.
You want to reach out to Fabienne, you can find her on LinkedIn at Fabienne Fredrickson. You can find her on her website at boldheart.com. And the Leverage Business Book she is offering, if you want to pay for postage, you can find that on her website at boldheart.com. Fabienne, I want to know if you would like to share any other little tidbits with our audience today.
I think the thing I would share is that you are capable of more income, more impact, but also more downtime and more quality of life. And when the student is ready, the methodology or the teacher appears. So if anything resonated with you today, just take action on it. Just see it as a sign that it's time for a change.
Absolutely. I totally 100% agree with you. I'm going to go and click on get your book. I'm going to read it and I'm going to find out what I can do better.
That sounds great. I hope you love it.
I'm sure I will, Fabienne. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for sharing how we can scale our businesses and get those 14 weeks of vacation each year.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Rose.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time.